This is Emmy-nominated rapper, actor, / the greatest of all times, T.O.N.E's, and you checking out Dispatch Radio.
All right, folks, I know you'll hear me talk about a lot of local events and things to support in the greater Tampa Bay area, and let me get right to this weekend. We have another Pet Expo, and this one has a very unique and exciting guest. He is, you've heard him on the Pet Talk radio show. He's been on Larry King. He's been on Regis, all sorts of different things. He's the author of Dog Talk. His name is Harrison Forbes. How are you, sir?
Doing fantastic.
Oh, it's great to hear from you, and it's great to find out a little bit more about this weekend's event. And I don't know much about some of the things that you're involved here when it's called the Wisdom Panel, the Swabathon Tour. So you're going to have to catch everybody up a little bit on, translate that into what that means for us.
Well, you know, adoption has become such a viable option for so many people, and many more people know about it now and are interested in adopting pets. And so the great thing is technology has really come along to help us in every way. Because, I mean, think about it. There's millions and millions of pets out there looking for homes and millions of people looking for great pets. So a big part of the process, it's not hard finding animals, but it's hard finding the right one to fit your lifestyle. Lifestyle match is just such, to me, it's the biggest component of making for a great relationship. Because, I mean, you think about it, it's a 10, 15-year commitment and a relationship that you're going to have with an animal. So picking the right one and making sure that you're the right fit for that animal is really an essential part of it. So science has come along, like with Wisdom Panel. It's a DNA test, which beyond just the neat, cool factor of finding out what makes up your mixed breed. If you've got a Heinz 57 and every Christmas everybody sits around and kind of throws out their 2 cents worth of, oh, I bet he's half this and 3/4 this, and everybody chimes in. Well, now you can find out. So aside from the novelty of it, there's also some great benefits, too, to finding out the genetic heritage of a dog that you may be interested in adopting even. Let's say you've got that there's puppies at an adoption center. Having those dogs swabbed and seeing what the parents are like gives you a good indicator of the size and some of the temperament things that may have. If it's an adult dog, same thing. There are certain breeds of dogs that have genetic predispositions to either, like with German Shepherds, hip dysplasia, or with Great Danes, skin problems, or all these different things. So it allows you to kind of get a nice background. You know, the dogs can't tell us their background, but their DNA can shed a lot of light on things. So it helps you design a training program around them to kind of fit their personality. And from a veterinarian standpoint, you can be on the lookout for things that might come along down the road and be preventive.
So these things are called the dog track DNA test, and I'm going to nickname them, make the comparison here. It's like getting a Carfax on your car, right? You're basically getting a little bit of a snapshot of the history of your dog, especially if it's a mixed breed. And maybe you have a dog that has a breed in its background, its mother, father, grandparent, what have you, that may be predisposed to an illness or a condition that you may not have otherwise been aware of, correct?
Correct. And then, you know, also from the behavioral side of it, you know, if you've got certain types of terriers, you know, hey, this dog may be a little headstrong, so I'm going to design a training program around that. Or if, say, you have a dog that has a lot of retrievers in there, well, the dog's probably predisposed to have a lot of retrieving instinct. So even if you're not a hunter, you can use that retrieving instinct to do certain types to motivate a dog to be able to do a lot of training, whether it's obedience or tricks or whatever. It just gives you a lot of key insight into things in their genetic makeup.
So are the shelters using this information? Because, you know, when you go and you adopt an animal now, there's usually a lot of information on maybe the person that has dropped the animal off, whatever background they know. Is it good with kids? Is it good with cats? So are we now including like the DNA profile on these pets as well?
Sure. It's just one more piece of information that helps you make a better decision. And I think, you know, you add that in with whatever the staff knows on the dog, or if the dog comes in with a good a history, maybe somebody had to turn the dog in for certain reasons, they can give a lot of history on them. And then some of the dogs are found, so they don't really know anything, kind of have to figure it out through spending time with them. So it's just one more indicator that helps you make that perfect decision for the pet that you're getting.
We're talking with Harrison Forbes. He'll be here in the greater Tampa Bay area on Saturday. Now that's this weekend in the Tampa Bay area. I believe that is March the 9th, March the 8th, right? Yes.
It is
okay.
March the 8th.
March the 8th. He will be, I guess you guys are doing pet expos all over the country though, right? So if they miss it here in town, they may be listening on the internet or whatever, maybe catching you in a different town, right?
Yes, I'm emceeing, I think, 25 of those shows for them this year. So they're all over the country. We were in San Diego last weekend. And, I think the unique thing about these shows that I like is for pet owners, it's one of the only expos out there where people can bring their pets. And so that's great for a lot of reasons in that, if some of the booths there have pet clothes or different things where you need to kind of size them and try them on your dog, or if you want to talk to trainers, there's local trainers there and local businesses you can get to know. But being able to bring your pet along and ask questions and show them things. I MC the main stage, and we have different speakers every 30 minutes all day long. So there's people doing conversation or Q&As on pet first aid, teaching classes about adoption, teaching classes about BSL legislation. I mean, there's a little bit for everybody there if you're a pet lover.
How did you get hooked up with this group? I mean, I know you've got a long resume and pedigree yourself doing radio shows. You've kind of become that celebrity expert on a lot of talk shows and that kind of thing. How did you end up getting a part of this group?
I was doing a national tour, a program that I designed for Toyota. They were doing a pet-friendly aspect of some of the cars that they had, where they were putting making some different car seats and things to go in those cars. And they had signed up to do an expo like that. I think the first one I did was in Denver. And, I was amazed at how there were thousands and thousands of people there. And it was just a great opportunity. Being in media, there's a lot that I can do on television, but it's always a one-way conversation. And I think for pet people, there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to advice. So to really give great advice for training and behavioral things, the best way to do that is to be able to have, even if it's a short conversation. If somebody's got a problem with housebreaking, if I can ask them 3 or 4 questions back and forth inside of a minute, it really will give me a clearer understanding of maybe what their problem is, and then be able to give them a solution that's really useful to their specific thing. And it's hard to do that sometimes in other forms of media.
Absolutely, and that's part of the blessing of being able to be in radio and interact with folks, and
right.
you could get to know them and build relationships rather quickly.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing. I've done radio for so long, and that has been my primary, my favorite thing about radio is that back and forth. But then my hands are tied on visual aids. It's hard for me to visually stand there, and so everything has to be through imagination and visualization through words. And so each medium has been a little bit tough, and face-to-face is really fantastic.
Harrison Forbes is the MC, is part of the Great Pet Expo. It'll be in the greater Tampa Bay area this weekend, but there's traveling all over the country. We'll link to some of those tour sites so you can catch up with what will be in your town here locally. And if you don't know much about Harrison, you want to catch up some of his, I'm sure we can catch some podcasts of his old radio shows. There's tons of videos on his website. That is harrisonforbes.com. I notice I get your name right. Unlike Kelly Ripa. Kelly Ripa, call him Harrison Ford, by the way, which I think, by the way, you should have that shtick ready. You should come out with like a hat and a whip one time and throw them completely off their mark.
I've been on that show 8 times, and Kelly does that now as a joke. Every time I go on, she introduces me as Harrison Ford and does her shocked face when she's corrected, and she loves to harass me about that.
That's funny, actually. That's really funny. So, all right, so let me ask a question, Harrison. Now, I'm an animal guy. I worked in the pet industry. My wife was in the pet industry for years. That's how we met. And I got a whole menagerie at my house. How many animals does Harrison Ford have in his house?
Surprisingly few.
Yeah?
I guess it's one of those things where I'm on the road quite a bit, and I did police and military dogs for 20 years, and I'm at that stage right now where I've got 3 kids all at home, that our house is kind of the neighborhood center point. So on a typical afternoon, there may be 10 kids in and out of our house running up and down and playing in different areas. And so the kind of dogs that I had for a long time doing police and military work just isn't applicable for me to have those kind of dogs around right now. So my daughter has a Shih Tzu, and I have a retired, the kids have a retired show dog that I knew the owner of when they got ready to retire him. He's a Beauceron from France.
Wow.
He's a really laid-back guy, and I take him on TV shows occasionally because he's great for public demos. He's getting old now, so he just likes to sleep most of the time. But and then my daughter also has a rabbit. So we are down to a rabbit, a small dog, and a big dog.
Well, that's you got to be honest. I have way more critters than you do, my brother. But then again, unlike you, you're snowed in now. You're trapped with all these kids and stuff this weekend, and you may be using this weekend as a chance to get away. Where you saw out and come down here to Florida for a couple of days, bro.
Absolutely. You know, I was down there. I guess the last time I was in the Tampa, St. Pete area, I filmed a thing with my best friend Joanna Krupa, who's now on Housewives of Miami. She and I did a little piece for the Travel Channel on the Don Cesar Resort down there.
Yeah.
So we stayed down there and filmed a little piece for a while, and it's a fantastic area down there.
Well, we may have a little bit of rain, but I tell you what, we saw you out for a couple of days, and folks, you don't want to miss a Pet Expo. I really do enjoy them when I can make them, and I'm probably up to about 50-50, if not 75% for this weekend, so I'll have to swing by and see Harrison face-to-face, because I really do enjoy it. It's a great time to see a lot of I got to tell you, the coolest thing I like is they have gadgets and stuff for all these pets. They have the coolest stuff sometimes, and the technology is at a Pet Expo is way ahead of where you're going to see at your local PetSmart, Pet Supermarket, or retail outlets. They have stuff way down the road that you won't see for years in the actual retail market, folks. So if you're looking for different things, you just love your animal that much, want to go hang out for a couple hours, it's a great opportunity. We'll have links to their site. We'll have links to HarrisonForbes.com. You can catch up with them. And, of course, all the great locations all over the U.S. if you're catching this online. So, Harrison, I do appreciate it very much. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, talking about technology, one of the companies that I was involved with, Qualcomm, developed, which, they make like 90% of all the smart chips and the cell phones around the world, and LoJack and all that. They developed a thing called Tag the Pet Tracker, and I was involved in launching that product and still do some consulting with them. And the technology in that tiny little thing, it's amazing. Now they have all this activity monitoring that's just like a pedometer for your dog, and the computer. You get an email every day with a graph of an hour-by-hour charting of how much activity your dog did during the day, and it gives them a fitness score at the end of it. I mean, it's just the technology. And then also, if your dog got loose, you're able to pull up on your phone and see exactly where they are on Google Maps.
I'll tell you what, and that's the coolest thing, man. I'm driving down the road trying to figure out where she is. I have my phone open. I'm no longer just looking down streets. I can track her on my phone. It's fantastic. And I tell you what, folks, leashes, harnesses. My wife had one of the last ones. I don't know if it was a dog show or a Pet Expo, but she got a special new cutting edge thing for his breath so he doesn't stink when he gets all up in your face and things like that. They have so much cool stuff. You got to come check it out. So Harrison Forbes will be there, and Messine, I appreciate all your time and for you fitting it into your busy schedule, my friend.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it.
All right, and I hope to catch up with you this weekend.
Saturday now. I'm gonna
try. I'm gonna try. To keep me at a slim schedule, and I'll swing by there and at least catch you for a few minutes. That'd be great.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it.
All right, you take care and stay warm, my friend, and I will see you soon.
Okay, thank you.